Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review for Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny on Disney+. And I'm glad I didn't go to the theaters to see this. It's more close to 3 hours, and I didn't like it. I didn't enjoy it. I felt like it really had no heart and soul of Indiana Jones in it. I mean, at least Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, even with its faults, felt like an Indiana Jones movie. This one just felt like all the different kind of parts. We have the CGI in there, we have Harrison Ford just being kind of grumpy Indy, but there's not a lot of connective tissue that gets executed well in here. We just move from set piece to set piece of almost what a committee thinks that Indiana Jones works with. And gotta do a chase sequence here, he's gotta fight Nazis here, and it's just kind of boring to me. And the set pieces aren't really that good either. And granted, I don't mind going back to the Nazis and Indy fighting them. It's very basic. It's like, here are the Nazis. We don't really get most of the motivations of them, of kind of what's kind of going on, especially like Mad Mikkelsen's character, Voller? Voller, yeah. We really don't get his motivations, except as the film goes on, of course, time travel and everything kind of becomes a focal point, and like the Dial of Destiny with time and everything. But we really don't get his motivations for his main plot of he was trying to utilize this to help Hitler and the Nazis win the war in the 1940s, and then we get to 1969, and he wants to utilize this to go back and take Hitler out, and then have the Nazis do what? Like, we don't even get his kind of motivation other than he needs to go after the MacGuffin so that way Indy can stop him from getting the MacGuffin. I know it's really weird to boil it down like that, but that's pretty much it. Not really much is done with character motivations in this movie, and it's a really strange fucking thing. And some are kind of all over the place, like Helena is a very strange character in that we don't understand her complete motivations of sometimes she's an asshole, almost set up to be like the rival that Indy had in Raiders of the Lost Ark. But then she kind of comes through her kind of journey and helps Indy at the end, even though it's like, okay, why did you have this change of heart? Why are you trying to help him other than the plot demanding it? And she's almost built up as the next kind of Indy. She has her own kind of character that's similar to Short Round, but they just come off as acting as the plot kind of demands them, then being kind of asshole-ish to Indy in certain instances, and then being able to help him when the plot demands that it kind of happens. I understand this kind of explaining the basics of what a story is supposed to be, but the hallmarks of a good story is you don't see the mechanisms as just that, the mechanisms. You see the characters kind of going through the motions, you understand their motivations, you understand why they're kind of acting like an asshole, what they're trying to do, and what they're trying to accomplish, but it just feels like you just go through the barest minimum to be like, hey, here's this, here's a CGI chase sequence, here's more CGI that they're acting off of a green screen. It was really just kind of nutty. So we start off, let's see, okay, in 1944, and we have Harrison Ford completely de-aged, and it was just like, oh my god, this is gonna fit. This is gonna be a problem, because once that worked for one thing, they're just going to fucking overuse the unholy shit out of it. And now it's gonna be like, we could just put them into whatever. It's like, god fucking damn it. It only works if it works for the story. So we pretty much just get him getting captured. The Nazis kind of interrogating him. He's attempting to get after the Lance of Longinus. Longinus? I'm probably mispronouncing that. But the spear that killed Jesus. Or at least, let's see. Well, the one that the holy spear, the spear that pierced the side of Jesus as he hung on the cross. And then, of course, this bucks together with Voller, saying that he found the Antikythera, which is the Archimedes dial, and it's like, this will be important for Hitler. So then we just pretty much get this him going through. The Allies kind of bomb the place, and Indy's able to escape. But his one friend, Shaw, gets captured, that he was helping, and they pretty much do this elaborate kind of chase sequence on a train where Indy's fighting Nazis, and then the train gets derailed, and they get the Archimedes dial, and yeah, it's not really that interesting because it's mostly just your basic kind of action stuff. Mainly, we see that Shaw's not good with a gun and pretty much shoots Indy accidentally. But they get through, they take out the Nazi bad guys, they take the dial, and then we flash forward to the present of 1969, people celebrating the moon landing and everything like that. And then Indy being retired from college, but he's bringing up all this stuff in this class where Helena pops up. He's retiring from Hunter College. He has evidently got separated from Marion, and later on we learned that is because Mutt was killed during the Vietnam War, and they both had issues with that. Granted, not a bad plot to have, but they really don't do anything with it. We just learned that Indy's pretty much divorced from Marion, and then later on, boop, 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 boop. Oh, what would you use the dial for? Go and stop my son from getting killed in Vietnam. And it's like, okay, but the thing is, it's taken such a gulf of a time, and it's not really brought up as anything to really have the impact that we need. And then it's just kind of a background indie thing when it should be a pivotal character thing of Mutt dying, his son dying, and him getting divorced from Marion. Like, there's a difference between someone harping on something and, like, being like the plot point just is brought up just to have it being brought up. So he then reconnects with Helena, saying that she wants to continue going on with the dial, but she's making it passed off as research kind of stuff. He takes her into the college place, and that, of course, is then when it lines up that Voller was working with the U.S. to send the moon landing, and then utilizing his, like, own kind of force and the CIA or government kind of official, and then they start, like, killing people at the Hunter College, and then we get the Indy chase sequence of trying to go after Helena and Indy, and we get a fucking horse CGI doing shit in a subway. And it's just like, alright. Like, I don't mind the use of CGI, but when it completely takes me out of it, that's when I'm just like, I don't care. Nothing's really happening here. I mean, sure, there's stuff that's being computer generated and everything, but I'm like, whatever. Because sometimes when you're doing action sequences, yes, you have to use CGI, but that's to enhance and to make it, like, draw you in more. This doesn't. It actually takes me out. And I'm like, whatever. Let's see. Andy was supposed to have destroyed the dial, but he never did. And Shaw's dead. Let's see. Yeah, they retrieved the half of the dial. That's what the whole sequence was going on about. Let's see. We find out that she's a smuggler and that she's selling stuff on the black market. And for some reason, we go to Morocco. Salah kind of links up with Indy, and he's like, it'd be great to go on an adventure with Indy again. It's like, no, I'm just going to go to Morocco, get this shit, and be done with this. And of course, that doesn't happen. We see her, that she's, for some reason, got a debt that she's trying to, like, pay off, and that is married to, like, she's supposed to be married to this like mobster dude, and that instigates the other kind of chase sequence. Even though Voller gets the dial portion, and then they're like, "Oh shit, we got to figure out where the other dial is." But you have to figure that out by getting. Oh, not Morocco, Tangier. Let's see. They need to find the Graphicos tablet containing directions to the other half. So, like, well, they've found it near, like, a Roman trireme, the one portion. So they're like, why would they only have one? So they decide to go look at that. We also see that the U.S. tries to get Voller back. Voller's like, fuck that shit. And you see one of the most... I can understand a certain level of incompetence, but like the way that Voller's men like took out this military helicopter was just almost to the point of, really? There's no that much fighting back. He kills his CIA handler, and they're like, fuck that shit. So they decide to pretty much go to the Aegean to find the rest. They hook up with Antonio Banderas and dive down and have more CGI as they're freaking out over the eels, which are water snakes. Helen almost makes it look like that she's leaving Indy to get eaten by the eels, but then she comes back and helps his ass. Around this point, before they go to dive for the Graphicos, this is where we learn that Mutt's dead and everything like that, and that he would go back and stop him. Then, of course, Voller catches up with them. Helena pretty much goes through this whole kind of thing of decoding what's going on with the Graphicos, and talking about where the other piece would be before they pretty much make an explosion on the ship that should have destroyed it or whatnot. But Indy and Helena and Teddy escape. Let's see. So they go to Sicily because they melt this wax and find this other gold thing, and go pretty much to try and get Archimedes' skeleton in the ear of Dionysus. But the way they like pronounce it is like weird. I'm like, it was like whatever. And they go through and they find Archimedes in his tomb. But the thing is, it's got this kind of phoenix whip propellers, and he's wearing like a modern watch, and they're like, oh god, he used it or whatnot, and like went through. It's like, okay, let's kind of see what goes on with this. But then of course Voller pops up. We get a sequence where Teddy pretty much kills one of the other Nazi bastard people, but Voller then comes and is like, and then gets everything together. He's going to go back to 1939 and take out Hitler and have the Nazis win, even though we don't know only that he thought Hitler was foolish, but we don't have any other kind of ways of what he thought his plan would be to have the Nazis win, or even what any kind of different goals he would have. It's just, that's his thing to get the MacGuffin. So they do the thing. They have a plane that would be for the time period. They get dressed up. We see Voller put on a watch that is similar to the one that is on Archimedes' skeleton. It's like, okay, either he's the skeleton, or... because that was my theory when I was watching it. But they go off. Teddy takes a fucking plane because they're going to need a way to get back anyway. And they utilize the dials to get into this fissure. But we learn that it is during a battle with Archimedes, and that he's in the process of finishing it. And it's almost a time loop that it would only be to those coordinates to help them out. And then we get like... oh god, when you introduce time travel, you have to be careful. But evidently, this movie doesn't give a shit about those kind of consequences. Instead, we've got people with like machine guns shooting at Roman triremes and shit, and a crashed 1940s airplane back in Archimedes' time. But who cares about the consequences of these kind of things, or how to even kind of plot that kind of stuff out? But we see that Voller and his crew die. Archimedes pretty much gets the watch, so my theory was incorrect, but Archimedes still got the watch anyway. And he was planning on staying there, and Helena is like, nah, punches him out and pretty much takes him back. He'd been shot at this point. And We then see that he is reunited with Sala and Marion, and they make up, and that's the end. It was just very disappointing. It's like the siege of Syracuse in 212 BC. That's where it was. But this is billed as like the last Indiana Jones film, and I'm just like, wow, even the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull had better kind of indie stuff in it, even with the fucking surviving a nuclear explosion with the fridge. That's stupid. Alright, listen, I'm not arguing on that. The mutt swinging with the fucking monkeys. Oh, God. It at least felt like it understood indie, even though it had that kind of stupid shit kind of going on. This just felt like a complete and utter cash grab of like, let's make the last Indiana Jones film. It's like, we need set pieces, okay? We need Indy doing kind of stuff. He uses his whip kind of a little bit. Now granted, I understand that this is old man Indiana Jones. He can't do all the stuff that he can do in the other ones. Write and tailor the story and everything and our expectations to that. That's fine. Like Old Man Wolverine and his inability to heal at certain kind of points and how he has to deal with that. That's good. I'm fine with that. This just was like set piece, CGI, digital de-aging, fight some Nazis that don't even really have a clear plan other than to go back in time and make sure that the Nazis win World War II. Even though we don't have any kind of in-depth motivations other than that. And Indy just to stop them because they're Nazis. Which, I mean, yeah, that's fine for basic kind of premises, but like anything else? And not everything has to be the most deep and most complex, but I mean, a little bit to help you like understand kind of what's going on and just keep you guessing, keep you engaged with the film other than like, oh, it's gonna happen, this is gonna happen. Alright. And, like, time travel repercussions. You always have to watch out when you're doing time travel repercussions. But I just did not enjoy this. It didn't really feel like Indy. I didn't know what they were trying to do with Helena and Teddy. And it just felt the most basic kind of thing possible. And I'm like, I'm glad I didn't go see this in theaters. And I really wouldn't recommend it. The action was just eh. The characters were just eh. And the plot was just it just did nothing for me. But if you enjoyed this and had fun with it and got Indiana Jones excitement for it, I'm glad for you on that. That's awesome. Again, I don't like to take that stuff away from anybody. That's cool. You just don't need to take my thing into account at all or anything. That's fine. But I just really wouldn't recommend this, especially when it's like a 3-hour like. It was like, said it was like 2 hours and 37 minutes on the Disney Plus kind of thing, but I just, God, it was boring to me. I'm like, ugh. So I wouldn't recommend it because there's really nothing much in most of the things that I look for in movies for it, and I would say that if you want an Indiana Jones fix, watch Raiders of the Lost Ark, Temple of Doom, Last Crusade, or Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Kingdom of the Crystal Skull is only if you're like, you really kind of want to, you know what I mean? Definitely the other three. Last Crusade's my favorite one. I mean, I like Raiders of the Lost Ark as well, and Temple of Doom is serviceable as well. It's just, I just like everything that goes on with Sean Connery and their hunt for the Holy Grail and everything. But, yeah. It happens. You don't enjoy certain things. So, those are my opinions on the movie. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.